So basically, just wanted to chat about the placement of players in the room. So all looking really great so far. The big question mark for me, and I'm sure it's a really easy answer for all of us, is just what you want to do with the cello, all three of them.
I think we have three cello to get a bit of a section sound.
Right.
So to make it a bit wider on the bottom. And I think we have, maybe we should, so what's the general idea for the mic? Like having everything fairly close, or are you going to just have the room?
Well, for the miking itself, it kind of doesn't matter so much, just because the room is as small as it is. So we'll have a pair, we'll have a kind of an overall perspective, but then every section is going to have a close mic, and in fact every player is going to have a close mic on this one. Are
we going to have more than 8 inputs then for this one?
Yeah. Well,
it's all the Thailands are all there. Okay, yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah,
that's great.
But it's more just from a kind of a kind of a tonal balance side of thing. We could do a kind of a standard layout for the front desks, as it were, and then have 2 cellists kind of on the same side but behind what we would then call the front desk.
I was yeah, exactly like the same. So you have the 2 violins, then a viola, and then the cello, like as a section.
Right.
And they just have one, pretty much like one sitting with the other players, but then the 2 behind.
Yeah, in a kind of a wedge almost.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then in that instance, I personally would put the double bass just at the back, kind of very central.
Not on the side on the right.
In the middle.
No, in the middle at the back. The only thing, it would be really cool to check out some of the scores if you have them, just to know the kind of material that the cellists are going to be covering, just to see if it's going to create any kind of imbalance, just in the room itself. That's the only thing that I want to just make sure that we're not straying towards by doing this.
Yeah, I should have maybe given a bit more instruction of Joaquim, because how I would have planned it is that some of the lines, not the cello play all the time the same line, if you want so, like that you split the cello section up.
Yeah. So I mean,
know what I mean, so you have.
Sorry, man. Is there quite a lot of divisi then throughout?
Well, I've looked at some of the scores Kim orchestrated. There isn't that much divisi. Yeah, because that would have been kind of the idea, to widen the sound a little bit. Otherwise, it's going to be very cello heavy if they all play the same.
Do you have some of the cello playing fairly high up, or one of the cellos playing in a higher register?
Yeah, that would have been the idea. Yes.
Yeah. So what I had in mind is kind of if you had in the middle, you have the double bass in the back, and then the 3 cellos in a sort of maybe semicircle or line, and then you'd have viola and violin, with one of the cellos playing in a higher register, and then on the other side a violin. If that makes sense. So if you, for example, if you had a double bass here, then cello, and then another one here playing with a viola and a violin, and having the viola here.
So,
but I just don't know whether that then would separate it.
I think that's actually really close to another idea that I had, which is, and again, it's based on the material that the cello especially will be covering, but you could play a bit more with perspective to kind of stray away from having quite literally the right hand side too heavy compared to the left. You could have them so you have the double bass at the back, and then a kind of the trio as a section kind of in front of the double bass, slightly curved around the kind of the quadrant, as it were, and then your violins and viola could form a kind of a trio at the front as well. It might not work with the material, if I mean, I personally would go towards something like that if the celli are kind of really divisi and playing off each other quite a lot. But I mean, really, it's up to you and what effect you want to get out of the arrangement of it, really.
I think have them divided would be the safer option. So option 2, because if, having looked at my scores, there is not that many divisi, even though that is what I've kind of had in mind. And then if the celli just play all the same line, and we have them like kind of, as we said in the beginning, in the triangle, then it's just going to be very like right-a.
Which could be great. I mean, if that's the vibe, then that's fine. The only thing that I worry about is it's more the stereo, the balance of the stereo image as opposed to the music.
Yeah.
You know, if that works for the music, that's perfect.
I think let's go for the balance of the stereo image is more important than having it. Yeah, what would be the opposite? Yeah, I would just work towards the stereo image. Really.
Sure. Well, tell you what, let's prioritise that, and I'll draw up an arrangement to double check. But whilst I'm doing that, maybe if I don't know if we have any orchestrated scores so far. Maybe if whilst I'm doing that, I could just take a little look and it may be that it seems like it could be fine just doing it more traditional layout.
Yeah, I think maybe if Kim could quickly come as well, so I can ask him, because I've given him some instructions on the orchestration, but I haven't really focused in that much detail on these cello lines. But from what I could see, is he hasn't really written divisi on them, even though there is some solo cello lines, and then the other 2 cellos blend more within the sound. So then it could also be that you have a bit of an unusual setup, which would be like the normal quartet setup, right? And then in the back you have the double bass with the 2 celli. So just to give that like heavy kind of, because I have a lot of like raspy like tremolos, like which I imagine the bass and the celli kind of playing together, or in octaves even, you know.
So I mean, again, it comes back to how it's arranged. Do you see there as being one cello part in particular that is the kind of the lead? Do you have a kind of a principle within that section?
Kind of, that's how I've written it, yeah. Okay. So that, I mean, there's some solo cello lines, and kind of a main cello within, like as a quartet kind of a function. But then again, you have this very like low raspy, which is double bass and cello playing octaves. This could almost be being treated as a separate kind of section with a double bass.
Yeah.
What do you think, Homai?
I agree. I think that should be slightly separate. Yeah, I like the vibe of having a quartet and then the extra for the sort of effects, because that's when it's. That's what they are there for. I think this is how we use them throughout. I have, anyways, throughout my scores.
Same here, yeah. Same here.
Okay, cool. So in that instance, we have. I'm just drawing a really quick sketch of this. So we've got a quartet in standard arrangement, and then a double bass directly central at the back, flanked by 2 celli, which would then be celli 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, this could be.
I think it's nicely
nice
spread out
option
then as well. From
Sorry, say again, Homai.
It's then nicely spread out and not kind of too clustered. I think with the bottom.
I think that could be a very nice balance. Yeah.
Yeah. It certainly works for me. Maybe it's still worth if we just.
We listen to a few.
Yeah, with Kim as well, and just take a look at the parts, just so. Especially just so, I think if Henry's copying, I don't know if that's still the plan, so he knows where.
We're doing that tomorrow, so I don't know if he's still around.
Okay, cool.
But the plan is basically that we finish all the scores tonight, and then we should have all of tomorrow
Can we get Kim up quickly? I would like just to double check how he's.
Thank you.
Well, fingers crossed. He kind of got the idea and saw it from my writing.
Yeah. It's brilliant having such a great team on it.
Man, it's like I'm so thrilled and excited. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, it's so stressful still.
Yeah.
It's almost more stressful being here because I'm always like. Yesterday, I think I called you like 4 times on my. It's not because like.
It's obviously want to see that everything's going.
Yeah. It's not because I don't trust anyone, you know. It's just I know. Kind of want to be there, you know. But
I don't trust you.
Bastard.
Oh, there we go.
No, I think this is. I think this is a really good arrangement, and yeah, it would just be really cool to double check within the parts, just so I can get my head around that a bit more. But if that works for the material, then that's great.
Yeah. Yeah, I just noticed when I was bouncing all the stems with your parts anyways, I didn't look at at your scores yet, what Kim has done, but it felt like quite a few parts of the cello could be played in the higher register as well.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So it would be divided, no, the cello?
Yeah. Just as opposed to think about which of the cellos would play which range. Maybe, I guess the one from the quartet would make sense to have higher up, possibly. And
yeah.
The back sticks to the rumble and grumble.
Nice.
Yeah. Because many times I've written basically too many voices for.
Yeah, I saw that, so I wasn't quite sure how.
For the whole.
It's just Kim making an entrance.
Sit down there.
Oh,
in the middle,
shit. I already see the lineup.
Hey, so Kim.
Hello. I see
I'm not sure whether this is a bit of a moment of the truth. I'm not sure whether you saw that within my writing, but some of the celli, they weren't always going to play everything together.
Yeah.
So like, because sometimes there were too many voices, was that kind of obvious? Like that, sometimes they would, one cello or so would double up the bass, and then the other cello would carry on playing the cello line.
Sure.
It wasn't quite obvious, was it? I should have told you.
No, it was fine. There's a lot of doubling in the score. In a lot of the scores, there's a lot of divisi. You will, if you've seen, and I specify.
Okay.
And I specify like if it's one player or two players. So when there's divisi, I've thought of that. Whenever there's a melody, I've tried to keep all the players doing it. It's just so, because the point of getting 3 cellos, I guess, is so that you get the section sound, right?
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes.
So I've tried to keep 3 cellos. If it's a high cello line, I've tried to keep the 3 of them. If it's low, sometimes I do 2 and 1. I've never divided the 3, but if you say that's
no, that's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. Mainly like just having 1 divided and the 2 carry on.
Yeah, so you'll see that, I don't know, in a lot of cues. Maybe.
Okay, yeah. I looked over it. I couldn't quite remember, but yeah, my brain is a bit fried.
Yeah,
but yeah, all good.
So there's just the kind of the reason that we're talking now is we're just taking a look at positioning in the room.
Yeah.
And
this is what I'm not. Yeah.
Okay, so we've just been kind of discussing what we should do with the celli, just based on how the arrangement is and how what they're doing kind of between each other. So we started with the idea that they could be together as a section, but just based on the fact that they're kind of, if they're all on the right hand side, they might start to outweigh the left. And we kind of had
so we kind of just had a little chat about that, and we came up with
the idea of putting them at the
quartet
back.
and then
Yeah, so a quartet and then double bass with two celli. Does that kind of fit with the way they've been dividing so far? When you were talking about 1, 2 and 1? Or?
well, it depends because, for instance, do you have the scores, Ollie, in front of you?
Yes.
17. When I'm 17, I think it is. Where you have that. Is it 17? I don't know. There's one that's got that crazy kind of arpeggiated figure, yeah. And then I've, for instance, with that I have done one playing together with, so it worked perfectly with that because there's the cello, two celli doubling the bass, yeah. So these three B, and then the quartet sort of playing this. So that would work fine. I'd have to revise them though because for a lot of them, I don't think it will work.
Yes. Okay. So you have 1 and 17. You have like a cello starting later.
Maybe it's not 17 actually.
No, that the one with the. It's, I think it's 1 and 10 maybe.
Yeah, 10 maybe. Yeah. So if you look
but I
at that
can see 17. There is some divisi going on.
Yeah,
as
there's
well.
a lot of divisi.
Here as well. Here as well. Well, okay. Here's.
So it will just be a matter of knowing that. It will just be a matter that it's fine actually because I've divided it so that whenever there's a divisi, I say 1 or 2. I meant 1 or 2 players, and usually the way it works is they'll divide, like they'll know what it is. If we tell them, if it says 1, then it's that. It's the chair as part of the quartet. If it says 2, it's the 2 at the back. It might, at some point, I might want to swap the numbers if it doesn't make sense. If it's like, if I decided that the 2 cellis were doing high harmonics with the high strings and 1 cello was doubling with the bass, I might then think, actually, let's swap those so that it sounds. Do you know what I mean?
Well, the one thing is to bear in mind is that I would hate for any of this to get in the way of what the intentions of the arrangement or the orchestration are. So if there is,
it won't. But there is one thing that worries me is that a lot of the time I had that in mind, that sort of cello sound section. So sometimes I've even done the 3 cellos are doing the bass line, and then the bass is actually helping out the high strings with a harmonic, something like that. But I can just sort of I don't think it will impact at all. And the thing is, how strict do you reckon they'll be with overdubs and with things and recording things separately? Like, is Hilary going to be here?
Hilary, yes, will be here.
Well, we discussed when we had a meeting with Christian. He was saying there obviously won't be any overdubs, as far as I remember.
As far as I know, there's not been any agreement so far as to overdubs being part of the
recorded. Okay. No, there's not going to be any overdubs.
How about? Okay. Well, just having that in mind, I might just actually delete things from the score rather than add them. Well, so that you get, for instance, 4 bars of clean high string effects, and then the next 4 bars you'll get them with the low lines. So, do you know what I mean? Like, kind of doing that so you can just loop stuff afterwards. Because what worries me is that even when I've thought of the bass line, oh yeah, you'll get that sound, then you'll get like 4 players doing crazy things that's going to sort of get in the way of you know what I mean, of the mix. I don't know how close you're going to mic it all, and
everyone will have their own mic, but before, this is all really great, and if that's what you guys want to do. If you
set on this, then going forward I will just arrange as in for the ones that are missing, which is 7 or 8 of them, I will just bear that in mind, and I'll make it work on this sort of setup. And if I have time, revise the other ones. But I don't think
so. All of this is, of course, totally up to you guys. What I would hate is for that to get in the way of your process. So if you do want to explore options of potentially having a slightly heavier side on the right, if that works for what it's been written for and what it's kind of intended for, then that's fine. We can make it work. But it really is up to you in terms of, you know, because changing the arrangement this is your.
Well, no, it's your decision.
No, we can't change the arrangement. No, it's too late to change the arrangement.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Ollie, but you, I mean, you sort of need to decide. So the way I had in mind was section and sort of to the right, and of course that's going to be, it's not going to be balanced in the tree, but actually it's all going to be then blended with samples. So I guess you want to get these crazy sort of high string effects anyway, not to use in a conventional mix kind of.
No, and everything is going to be kind of close mic'd, and even when Jake is going to mix it, he will have to mix it not just with the tree, as you will.
Mainly close mics. Yeah, so actually it doesn't really make a difference. But if you think that the room will it will feel better like that, then
well, it's kind of does make a difference because the room still needs to fit right, because you might want to mix it in as well. So you probably want to keep it.
My thought is that it will feel heavy having them all in the same place, but if that's right for the music, if it's right for the pre-records and everything else, if it fits in properly with what you want to do, we can do that. That's fine.
But sorry, what was the exact concern again of having it how we now initially thought? So with the bass in the middle and then the two celli next to the bass.
The concern is more from Joachim's side on the arrangement, and you know, parts working together if they're split out, you know, non-sectional, as it were.
And I mean, instead of having them in the center, could you, because the bass in the middle is great for mix, whatever, but actually they all like to be, I think musicians like to be in a section. I mean, like just sort of slightly to the right, you know, as opposed to having that in the center, kind of.
So okay, how about?
You know what I mean?
One second. I would.
You know what I mean?
How about, you know, sometimes when you have the first violin section, second violin section at the front on either side, and then we have to switch out the third cello with the violin too, so I have it together, closer.
So kind of
Sort
antiphonal,
of baroque, kind of. Yeah.
Again, if it works for you know what you want the parts to play together, like that's
because that would still work in terms of having it as a quartet and then separate, you know, the cellos and the double bass in the back as well. But at the same time, the cello would be closer to the other two. To be able to be in that section closer together.
Let's ask the two composers, not any technical question, but would you agree that mixing-wise, the more separation between high strings and low strings, the better, the more flexibility, the better?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Then I think you need to go for section, even if it doesn't sound...
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
okay.
But if you're not happy, then Harry, it's up to you.
So just to kind of tie this together, I feel like we want to like the idea of the cello being at the back with the double bass. I certainly do.
Yeah.
But if like what you're saying, if that doesn't work with the way that it's been written as a section, it's no problem to put them kind of as a section on the right hand side. It will be a bit heavier there, but if you're mixing with pre-records, if you're mixing with samples, that's where they're going to appear anyway.
Okay.
My only concern with having them at the back is that it will sound better, that it will sound more balanced in the recording, but it will be more... I think it will sound more balanced in the recording, having them at the back, and it will sound more sort of chambery, but I think it will lock it to that sound. You'll be getting, possibly that close will be getting more of the cello than it would otherwise. even the VO. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's locking it to the sound of the room, which is fine, but I don't think it's what you wanted because you.
Okay, I think here is what we should do. I think the idea was to have a bit of a section sound with the cello, and I think therefore it's going to be okay that it's a bit slightly low heavy, and it's going to be normal for the listener and for the ear that if the low is heavier, that's going to be slightly heavier on the right.
Yeah, sure.
Do you know what I mean? If you're in front of an ensemble and orchestra.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be, we should have the quartet, like normal setup, then the bass behind, and then on the right side of the bass we should have the two celli, so kind of behind the first cello.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah,
I think we should go with that. And
let's do it.
Yeah.
Totally agreed. And Joachim, like you were saying, that gives it opens up more flexibility, and there's still the chance to balance that out if we do feel like it's a bit heavy on the day. We've got the mix stage with Jake, and if it's going in with any other samples and pre-records or whatever else, I think you'll be happy.
And also you can always turn up the low the section the section of the high strings without then raising any volume of kind of the low strings. Whereas if you had a cello slightly behind them, you might risk that kind of bleeds into the high strings mic.
The control will be a fair amount better. Cool, brilliant, fantastic. Yeah, it's really good to go through the works on that one, just so we're all on the same page.
Yeah. Fantastic.
So Ollie, just as a few extras, I'm going to go ribbons on this, if that's cool with you. Yeah. We're just going to try and get as much detail as we can for all of if you're doing any scratchy, extended, techniquey stuff, but also nice, rich.
There's going to be a lot of scratchy stuff, kind of light bow touch.
Okay, cool.
I think in your stuff as well, Ollie.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, I'll bear that in mind. Fantastic. I think that's just about everything from me. Timur and I are going to start trading sessions shortly, which will be great. The other thing is, who is going to be here on the day?
Both of us.
You're both going to be here, and we've got Hillary and Joachim.
I've asked Ben. He says yes, so I'll be. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, Ben, if you want to be in, that's also good. Like just kind of double checking with the scores, I think.
Yeah, just in case there's some problem in the notation. Yeah.
Cool. And is there? Cool. And is there any? Are there any?
Christian coming?
He's penciled in, but I'm not sure.
Well, you have to find out to plan the session, I guess, if he's recording his 2 cues.
I think we'll find out. We'll have to find out. Probably short notice, but that's no problem.
Well, just he said today he's organising his own scores and everything, so that kind of.
Just in terms of where he's going to record his score in the beginning, at the end, in the middle. We'll have to figure out when he's arriving.
Maybe get together with you as well to talk about.
Come in tomorrow evening, probably around 7. I think I'll make it in.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, that's fine then.
And in terms of kind of taking them through the cues and timing wise, are you guys all set on that, or do you want any assistance from our side?
This is what I actually wanted to get together for.
Okay.
Yeah.
To make sure
if
we
you
have
need
the whole
someone to keep time,
and...
it should probably be us, not them, right? To be like, we should probably move on to the next one.
Yeah, it's up to you, however you want to do it.
Yeah. Well,
really?
Yeah, I'm writing for my cues. I'm writing down at the minute. I'm trying to figure out how many minutes and seconds I'm actually recording for my cues, so we can see. I will have a column for that.
Great.
And then we can maybe calculate a little bit how much we should spend actual work recording time on it.
Cool, brilliant stuff. That's everything from me.
And then we need to get someone who takes notes. On the recording notes, say like use take 1, use take 2.
That's Henry. Henry's already involved on that. So
kind of what we're saying, like say if we say like we don't want that there, make sure we take that out or whatever.
Yeah, that's all covered. Yeah.
Amazing.
Brilliant stuff. All right then.
That's pretty much it.
I'm gonna be around. I won't be here tomorrow evening when you get in, but I will be around online all day today and tomorrow.
Cool.
And I'll be in from about 8 on Thursday morning. So.
Yeah, same. Late 8 the latest.
Cool. Brilliant stuff. All right. Thanks a lot, Ollie.
All right. Thanks, Harry.
Thanks, guys.
Homai and Kim.
Yeah.
Kim, I'm working through the
MIDI.
which has been a bit of a struggle, but I'm literally arranging it for you super nicely. So it's going to be a piece of cake to notate that.
Brilliant.
You can even open up the Logic session, and there is everything. All the strings are in there with the WAV mockup.
Ah, great. Okay,
And
so you've just sort of stripped them down to the MIDI plus the mock-up, yeah?
Yes, only the
Great.
strings MIDI, of course.
Great. Oh, great. That's easy.
What was I saying?
I'll be here when, yeah.
On 1M10,
I'll
I just looked over the score. You have on these arpeggiated stuff. There is.
Yeah,
Did I
I've split
literally
it.
write it like that? Did I write it like that with these breaks in there with these?
No, you wrote it in a very unplayable way. For the strings, I mean, not for the piano. For the strings, it was quite a long arpeggio, I think.
Yes, but I remember I made sure that they would be able to play it. That's what I thought.
Okay. I can easily change it, or we can have two versions. And in any case, do you like the fact that they sort of split viola, violin 2, and then cello and violin 1? Just because it was so long, I think in any case, they could play the whole arpeggio, but possibly they'll get really tired to do it for so long. What do you think?
Yes.
Yeah? So I'll keep the divides, but I'll make the arpeggios full.
However, it's a very long section, and we could think about having them recording and just then looping it afterwards, because it's a texture idea.
Yeah, I think
it's almost like a plate. It's almost like a swarm, but it's not like tremolo or plucks. It's like a swarm of like going up and down.
Yeah, I think since it's so long,
So
and they probably won't get first take, but maybe second take. But then we move on, and you just take the bits that you like most of the. Do you know what I mean? As in, you don't need to stop them and then go again the same bit. You can just let them play, even if they make mistakes, and you just get the best bits out of it.
The idea is almost more a little bit aleatoric as well, of creating with these notes.
Yeah, that's why I've written it
against the other line.
I've done consort, so you won't get the resonance of the actual. So it does sound sort of, you know what I mean? Because what I heard from the long patch that you had, it was sort of.
That's the idea. I think I've used like even a longs patch or something.
Yeah, you've used a long patch for that. Really quick figuration, so it's really sort of it blends in together.
Yeah, it should almost be like washed out kind of sound.
Yeah, with the consort, you like that.
Brilliant. Okay.
All right, better go.
Cool, and I'll send you that through. Kim, when do you start?
I'll finish at 5, and so I'll start at 5.
Okay, because then I'll send you what I have maybe already.
Yeah, do that, and then I'll have to do the rest. Yeah.
Maybe it's even better because you can go in there and be like, do that like that, and then you can tell me. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you all. Bye.
See ya. I'm going to disappear as well, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for clearing that stuff
Cool.
up. Hope the rest of it is going well.
Cool. Thanks for your time.
Woo.
Amazing stuff.
Woo! Sounded like a fart for a second.
Right.
Wow, you sound like a Dalek. Okay, I was gonna. I'm gonna hit
camera now.
Oh my god, I'm gonna hit end call. Goodbye. See you. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, the fuck.
Funny.
That was fun. Brilliant. No, that's fantastic. That's really great. How do you stop this?